Before we get started with today's interview, just a quick reminder, click the thumbs up, make sure you subscribe and ding the bell so that you don't miss any of the great interviews that we have coming up. Now, on to today's interview. It is my great pleasure today to welcome Keith Snell. Thank you so much for being here today and taking time to talk to us. Welcome, Keith.
Thank you so much. It's really my pleasure. Great to be here, Sam.
I'd like to move on to talking about the third movement of your first sonatina, the rondo. So it has this really lovely up-tempo vivace feel to it, and it has some slurs that build up to some short notes. Talk to us a little bit about this movement.
There were two things I wanted to accomplish here. Several things. I wanted something in 6/8, and I wanted something that a rondo that went from major to relative minor. So we've got the D minor as the B theme. And again, it's actually very similar in a certain way to the slow movement, in that first you build to A, and then you go to A flat to B flat, and then you finally go to the C. So you want to build that theme up. Okay. I think one of the things that's really tricky for students is the length of that middle C in the first two bars, because it should sound like one hand is doing that. Right? Because very often it comes out and that C stays there, But we want that to sound like it's all one melody that just happens to be divided between two hands. So that can be very tricky for students to learn to do it first. Very, very tricky. But then, yes, we want to build each bar up, to the fourth bar. So that's really important. And then making the forte contrast, with the B theme. It should have a real character, I think, a real character difference there. Forte and a stronger sound with the D minor.
Excellent tips. I love that as we go through this book, you have carefully marked out all of the themes for the student. And so it's much easier to see compositionally what you're doing and perhaps have that deeper understanding and hopefully build a more musical and a better educated performance from the students.
Well, my goal with doing that, I think, is with the easier sonatinas, is so that as you get into intermediate level sonatinas, the Clementes or the Kulaus, and then you get into actual sonata playing, that you already understand the basic idea of the form. If you wait until you're playing a Beethoven sonata to start discussing sonata form, it's going to be too confusing, So I like exposing them to that early on so they can see in smaller form, how things are put together that way. And it just becomes part of the vocabulary and part of the understanding of the structure of music.
I love how you're laying that groundwork for the students. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about this rondo?
The only thing else I want to mention actually is in the B theme in the left hand. I think that left hand should be practiced in those 8 bars from bar 9 through 16 by itself until it's really comfortable. So we're not using 3-note chords in this piece, for any sort of accompaniment. We're using intervals and changing from the 5th to the 6th with that thumb up on B flat and back down. You want to get very, very comfortable with that. And then you have the 6th in bar 14 moving upwards to the 5th in bar 15. So those are some things that just need to become very comfortable, the shapes of those intervals. And that's something I would focus on right away.
That is a really helpful tip. I can't wait to teach this piece. I know many students are going to really love playing it.
I hope so. I think it's fun. I really like this movement quite a lot. And in the coda, when it goes into that sort of flat 2 chord, it's very fun. Anyway.
Absolutely. Keith Snell, thank you so much for joining me today and talking about your book. Keith Snell's book is 3 Sonatinas. It is available from awesome music retailers near you. Thank you, Keith.
You're welcome. Thank you, Sam.